What's going on, guys? This is Money Webby here on Saturday for more daily fantasy basketball tips. We have a 7-game slate today, and the first game we're going to be looking at is between the Kings and the Hornets with an over-under of 207. And there's not many guys that I like in this game, as the Kings were in an overtime game. I don't really like to target guys after an overtime game and a back-to-back. And so on the Hornets, they're on a back-to-back as well. And the safest guy for a cash game play I like is Nicholas Batum. He's really consistent. He gets around like 30 points a game with some 40s sprinkled in. And I think he's a good cornerstone for your lineup. Like you know what you're gonna get with him in a cash game. And yeah, so on the Kings, I wouldn't really. Cousins is gonna be a little pricey at 11,000 for having to play in an overtime game last night, and he played a lot of minutes so they could rest him again tonight. And I like to target the bench on a back-to-back, and one guy that I really like is Ty Lawson. He's been doing well recently, and I think he has upside. He has a lot of upside too, because he can sprinkle on like these 34-point games that he's been having, and he's pretty much the best option in their bench as of right now for the Kings. Yeah, so I wouldn't really want to focus on that game too much, as it's both teams in a back-to-back. Could be an ugly game. So the next game is Detroit versus Miami. This could be another ugly game, kind of low scoring. There's not much offense in this game. But the one guy I really like is Andre Drummond at 7,400. He's been destroying the Heat this year. He has averaged 21.5 points and 16.5 rebounds against Miami this year, and without Whiteside, then he probably should just do even more damage against Willie Reed, who I didn't even hear about him until a couple days ago. And for a cheaper guy option in this game, I would look at Wayne Ellington. Seeing as Miami's on a back-to-back as well, they're traveling from Chicago, and he's their best bench guy right now, scoring-wise. He's been getting solid minutes for a guy off the bench, definitely 35 minutes, 33, 36, 27, and he's been returning a lot of value at 4,300, putting up 30-point games. I think he'd be a really good option if you want to go cheap for small forward today. And so for the next game, Celtics versus Milwaukee at 8. Over-under is 217.5. These are our projected lineups, and someone that's really burst on our scene is Jaylen Brown, drafted by the Celtics this year. He really hasn't been getting many minutes until recently. He had 30 minutes last night, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. He shows like he has a lot of flashes of that why they drafted him, and if they keep him and giving him solid minutes, I don't see why he can't return value on $3,000. So if they keep him in the starting lineup tonight, I would definitely go after him for $3,000. You can save a lot of money and pay up for guys like Karl-Anthony Towns and Kevin Durant, the studs. And Isaiah Thomas, obviously, who's been on a tear. He's definitely trying to prove something after not getting the All-Star vote for the start. And he's on a back-to-back. He would be actually rested kind of because he had only played 25 minutes in a blowout against Orlando. So he's a guy that could actually be fresh for tonight after on a back-to-back. And he's been dropping. He has a lot of upside too. He drops 60-point games here and there. Yeah, so he'd be a good tournament play, definitely. And for Milwaukee, there's no one I really like in Milwaukee, honestly. I think Giannis's price nowadays is a little bit too high for me. And yeah, I think Boston can actually match up well against Giannis if they put Jay Crowder. It's a similar athletic build to Giannis. I think he could really slow him down. Yeah, so next game is between the Clippers and the Warriors. Over under 223 points. They're expecting a lot of points in this game. I don't think the Clippers can really keep up with the Warriors, honestly, without Chris Paul. They don't have much offense. But the one guy that I think can actually match the Warriors' offense is Jamal Crawford. And he actually played well against the Warriors earlier this year. He had 33 fantasy points. And the Warriors aren't very good against shooting guards. They're 29th ranked right now. And Crawford's actually been getting solid minutes without Chris Paul, as like they'd have no real offensive weapon besides Jamal Crawford. Like consistently, he's like the only one that consistently been putting in points, with JJ Redick kind of having a down year. Yeah, so if Jamal Crawford's up with the number one guy, I would target in this game for 4,500, which could save you a lot of money. And for the Warriors, I'm not I'm not overly excited about anyone on the Warriors, as I feel like they're gonna blow out the Clippers in this game, so I could see them resting their starters. But the one guy who's Steph Curry has been actually playing well recently, and I think against Austin Rivers, he could really toy around with him and pretty much prove that he's a reigning MVP against Austin Rivers. Yeah, so moving on to the next game, we got the Nets versus Timberwolves. And in this game, the number one guy I looked at was Karl Anthony Towns, who's a friggin' beast, to put it slightly. And yeah, he killed it in his last game. And the big thing I noticed when I was looking at his numbers is that at home he's completely a different animal, averaging 51 points per game, fantasy points per game at home, and 41 away. Like usually you don't see that big of a split, and they're at home tonight, so I don't see why he can't keep it up against Brooklyn, who is 28th against the big men. And if Brook Lopez doesn't play, then I don't see how they're going to stop Karl Anthony Towns. They really have no one to match up with him. Yeah, so there wasn't really anyone else. Actually, Randy Foye I liked at 3,000. He's been getting solid minutes with no Jeremy Lin and Joe Harris. 30 minutes last night, 30 2 games ago. Yeah, he can offer the upside with 34.5 points, as Nets really have no one that can score. Randy Foye has done in the past. Maybe if he can wake up and actually score how he used to score. Yeah, so for 3,000, like he isn't. If he can just score like 20 points, then he could return some value at 3,000. Yeah, so for the next game, we got the Nuggets versus Suns. Definitely a high-scoring game, 230 over/under. There's a lot of guys in this game I like, seeing as Jokic and Emmanuel Mudiay is supposed to be out. That offers some upside plays with some cheap guys with Nurkic, Jameer Nelson, and Gallinari. This team's played literally 2 nights ago, and Gallinari, he did really well. 37.75 fantasy points, and he's only $6,000, so I think he's gonna have to carry the load a little more on offense without Emmanuel Mudiay and Jokic. And because Jokic has pretty much been like putting up the numbers recently. He's been doing all the work in offense, so they need someone to carry the load, and I think Gallinari could be that guy. And definitely Nurkic for 4,300. I think he's going to be a little bit of a chalk play. I could see a lot of the people having him in this lineup, because when he's got solid minutes, he's definitely done well. 20 minutes 2 games ago, he did very well. 26 minutes, he put up fantasy numbers. Definitely not efficient, but 29, you definitely want to take that at 3,600. 32 fantasy points in 18 minutes. So like, he's definitely been efficient in the limited minutes he's got. So if he's starting tonight, I don't see why he can't put up fantasy points. So you'll probably be forced to put him in your lineup based on what he's returning in value when he's been playing minutes. But just know that other people are going to be having him in their lineup. Yeah, so there wasn't. Oh yeah, and Phoenix, Devin Booker was the one guy I liked at 7,100. Nuggets don't really play defense at all, and Booker is a sharpshooter. He'll probably be shooting all around he'll be shooting all around pretty much against a Denver team that doesn't play defense. So I don't see why he can't do well tonight. And The last game we got is Grizzlies versus the Jazz. And this game, it's going to be definitely a low-scoring game. It's two of the best defenses in the league. So, in this game, I really wouldn't want to target many guys, honestly. But Marc Gasol, who obviously has been putting up numbers the last couple games, he'd be the one guy I'd actually want to play tonight in this game, because the one thing I was looking at, when they have Rudy Gobert, who's a shot blocker, and Marc Gasol's not your prototypical center. He goes around and shoots threes, like mid-range player. He's not down low banging bodies like Gobert, so I think he actually could do well in this matchup. That's the one guy I actually would play, but it's going to be a low-scoring game, so there's not going to be much upside with these kind of players. Yeah, so that's all the games for tonight. And yeah, if you guys like my tips and stuff, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of these helpful daily fantasy tips and advice. And definitely check up back on the lineups before the game starts, because there could be some changes. But most of the guys that I advised should be playing. So good luck, guys.